So let's get started here. Again, my name is Johnny McQuaig. I play in a band called Arcana Kings, and Johnny Turnbull here. Him and I go way back. For those of you who remember McQuaig, he was in the first incarnation of McQuaig,
The very first and the first of many.
the first of many. That's right. So Johnny and I have connected over the years and stayed friends, and we've both done a lot of things in our musical career since then. And we're going to share some of that stuff with you guys. As you can tell, we're not young guys anymore, but we still have fun playing music, and we're still in the industry. We're still doing a lot of stuff. So, anyways, let's just get started there. Johnny, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, like how we met? Let's start there.
Um, the he who shall remain unnamed saw me playing in a band called Brother Weed. That band it was
But we actually met before that.
we did? No.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I probably pissed you off somehow.
No, you know. Um, we met in Flin Flon, Manitoba.
Oh my God, I don't even remember that. I drank that memory away.
Okay, so you were playing with Brother Weed, and I was sent up there to do sound.
Okay,
Now
okay.
you remember.
Yes.
And that was the first time we actually met. And you were
Yeah, but
playing cover
you didn't talk
tunes.
much about your playing then or any you kind of were just sound man mode. If I'm
Well,
correct.
yeah, right. I was just an infant, just getting going in the music industry at that time. And I was sent up there with the company to do some sound for you guys, and never knew anything about doing sound. Didn't know it. All of a sudden, I knew it sounded good. So there we were in a bar in Flin Flon, and you guys started ripping into some cover tunes at the time. I can still remember some of the tunes, actually. I remember you guys doing Cinnamon Girl, I think. Didn't Krusty
No,
sing that one?
no.
Yeah,
Simple Girl?
I think it was Cinnamon Girl. And then your lead singer, his name was Dave, I
Yes.
believe. Soul Asylum was,
Yeah, we would have been doing like Runaway Train,
yeah, yeah,
doing the
yeah.
Stone Temple Pilots,
That's right. That's right. I
a
remember
lot of
Krusty
Black Crowes.
singing one song, and I thought it was a Neil Young
You,
song.
you might be right, because I would have been along, his ability to sing is to whine like Neil Young. We love you, Neil Young. We love you, but you're a little
Yeah,
whiny.
he probably won't remember who I am. But anyways, that's when we officially met. But then fast forward, you know, a couple years later,
Was it a couple years or maybe within a few months, maybe 18 months, somewhere around there? It wasn't.
somewhere around there. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
because I wasn't, I'm trying to think when we were at Flin Flon. Well, what was it? I was in that band for about 3 years. So yeah, it's hard to say. But anyways, yeah, so we're playing in the Kingsway and he who shall not be named, the the rogue minister, um, he came up and approached and said he was putting together a band because he saw that we were taking a stab at playing originals, although we had a CD and still played covers. Kind of a reason why I was thinking of getting out of there anyways because I wanted to go to all the original. And he said, yeah, this crazy guy plays bagpipes, and why don't you try it out? And I did. I just basically packed up and left, and he picked me up in a van, and I think the whole band met all at the same time, pretty much.
That's right. That's
Right? And
right.
we had a drummer from BC, we had Ayla from Saskatchewan, Saskatoon,
Yeah.
me from Edmonton, you
So it
from
was Brent. Brent was a drummer.
yes, yeah,
Brent Norman,
yeah,
Ayla Brooke,
yeah,
myself, and you.
yeah.
And we just started out our musical journey that way. Now, one memory that stands out very, very fondly for me, especially just getting to know everybody. Like we didn't know each other at all, so we
No,
we we kind of got thrown together. And yeah, we had to play a few covers because we had some gigs right off the hop. It was like, oh yeah, by the way, here's the band. By the way, you're booked Friday night. And
yeah,
we're
yeah.
like, okay. So what are we gonna do? Well, we've got these originals, but nobody knows them. So let's play some covers to get to know each other first. So we did that. And then I think it was like a couple of weeks later, we ended up in Drumheller,
Yeah,
Alberta.
yeah.
And we stayed at like this, was it a hostel?
Well, it was the back of the bar. Was it not, or was it a separate building? But I remember it was barracks. It was like bunk beds,
Yeah,
wooden bunk beds and that. Yeah,
that's right. So we actually jammed during the day a little bit, but then we really got into playing Resident Evil. If you remember that on PlayStation, it
yeah,
was awesome. And we would play that during the day and we would jam and then we play shows at night because in those days it was like Monday to Saturday. Like
yeah.
it was pretty much every day you were playing. So
And kids, you can make a living at it, actually.
uh,
Imagine that.
yeah, in those days you could. It was a pretty cool thing. But what a cool thing for a band to get to know each other, like do these kinds of things. You know what I mean? Like play video games together all day. One game, and it's a one-player game. So we're
Yeah.
watching one guy play it, and we're
Remember this?
all
Is this where I was right at the end and got all cocky and I was running the clock out? And then I died instead of actually finishing the stupid game, and everybody went, no.
yeah, exactly, exactly. But
Yeah.
I mean, what a cool bonding experience as a band, like really. And we got to know each other. We got to play at night. We got to play during the day. We got to just kind of hang out. We were young. We were walking around Drumheller, and I don't know if anybody's ever been to Drumheller out there, but you walk around the town once or twice. You kind of know the town after that. You're like, okay, now what, right? What
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
see.
The town's the size of 5 minutes. Um, I remember Madame Mojo, when we got
Yeah,
with Madame Mojo, and we was like, well, if it starts, we'll take it. We got it for what, $50 maybe? But you
yeah.
remember turning on, it started right away, but we turned on the vents to see if the heat would work, and all that mouse nest came,
Mice nest came popping through.
just filled it like confetti, filled the whole van.
But that thing ran. It was a Dodge. It was
Yeah,
a 1980.
two,
Eight,
maybe three. Yeah.
89, something like that. Dodge.
Extended van. We built that little, we separated the back and made it into a bunk and
Yeah,
threw in a bus chair that folded into a bed.
yeah.
And I think we changed oil in that thing twice, and that's the only repairs we did to that thing.
That's right. And then we put a whole bunch of pictures, like pasted pictures on the walls and the ceiling and stuff,
Yeah.
and from magazines and whatnot. But yeah, that was
No porn, kids. There was no porn.
no, no, it wasn't. There wasn't. It was basically music, like all
Yeah.
bands and advertisements for guitars and stuff like that. Just surrounded ourselves with that. But we toured for quite a while with that band,
Yes.
McQuaig.
Yes, we did.
A few years. Anyways, we did the first album, McQuaig, the very first Plaid Mushroom cover album.
Do you have any copies of that?
I do.
Do you still sell it on Arcana Kings or what?
No, no, no. I don't sell them, but I have a couple copies here that I've kept and just for myself and still in the package.
Nice. Those will be worth about $11 someday.
11.50, I'm hoping. That's right. That's right. But so yeah, we did that for many, many years. We played, I don't know, the band was together for what, 4 years, 3 years?
Yeah,
80
I would
or
say
sorry,
so.
90. What did we start? 97, 96? I think it was
Mm,
96,
I'm thinking more 90.
97.
I'm thinking more 95.
Could have been, yeah. So when did McQuaig first album come out? 98, 97, 98.
97, 98. Yeah. Okay. No, you're right. It would have been 96 then, because we didn't tour that long before we were right into the studio. I mean,
That's
we
right.
wrote what, three or four of the songs when we were up in Yellowknife for a month. And,
That's right. That's right.
like we didn't come, you had a few, like Nigel, you had, I
Yeah.
think before,
Yeah.
and a couple that you demo, but we, pretty much wrote spontaneously, organically. And,
I remember writing that song "Ain't the Same" in Kindersley in the
yeah,
old hotel up
yeah.
top there when we stayed there, and it was just a dingy old place. But yeah, I remember writing that there. I can't remember how long we were there for, but we played there 3, 4 nights at the time, something like
Well,
that.
I think the point is we weren't. you know, it wasn't all sex, drugs, and rock and roll. We were actually a hardworking unit. When we weren't playing, we were rehearsing new covers and actually writing material. That's how we spent our days. So,
Hmm.
I mean, there's a real lesson there with if you're starting this journey out to you got to put the time in, you got to put the work in. You really do. I mean, it's not going to come
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah. And we took every opportunity to write. Like any kind of downtime, it was like the greatest thing about it was if you felt like, you know what, I just don't want to do it, the guy beside you was in a different frame of mind. He was like, no, we're doing this right now.
Yeah, yeah,
Get going on it. So we all kind of switched in that role. It was like, maybe one day I wasn't feeling it, but you were, so you pushed. Maybe you weren't, I was, so I pushed it. Or, Aylin and Brent, the same sort of thing, right? So um, it was interesting. It was interesting. But then, as bands do, it got a little bit to the point where it's like, you know what, this isn't working anymore. We kind of grew through that point in our lives, and it was time to do something else. And then
yeah.
that's when the next incarnation of McQuaig was formed. And you actually, I believe,
I
went to
found your guitars
school.
for you.
What's that?
I said I found your guitars for you too. Remember?
Did you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was telling you
Curtis.
about he was Curtis was playing in Saskatoon and he was up there with two girls or whatever. And I was talking to him and saying, you know, McQuaig's looking for a guitar player and yeah, I hooked you guys up. Sorry
Was
about
that
that.
right? No, that was great. I mean, he was young when we first got him,
Yeah,
like barely, he was like 18,
I
19.
don't. I think he was, you know, not he's still working on his first beer.
Yeah, I believe that for sure
Yeah,
in those days. Yeah. So that was, enough about that. But
yeah. And
I
then
think,
you're right. I went to school
right.
and got a degree in business communications, a bachelor's of business administration, some sort of nonsense that is basically just a useless piece of paper on a wall that cost me 20 grand. Thanks, AI. Anyways, we won't go down that road.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
And then, you know, of course, then I went with the JFR project and where I was a house band for a record label. I played with, you know, He Who Shall Not Be Named. I went pretty hard with that. You know, went to into a punk project there called Satan's Furnace. Um, went with King Ring Nancy, which is they're kind of local legends around here of metal. And wrote like most of the songs on the EP that we released. So yeah, I think basically it's just I really like to dabble in a lot of different genres, and
Mhm.
so it makes me yeah, I guess my loyalty ties are a little thinner.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, here we are. Here we are today. I stayed on the whole McQuaig, Johnny McQuaig band, and then into Arcana Kings. Now, here we are. We're still buddies after all these years, all these gray hairs, and all the less hairs I have on the top of my head. Um, and we're rocking and rolling. So that's kind of what we're all about. Now moving forward, I've got a story, Johnny. Let's
All right,
let's
let's
I
hear.
want I want to talk about this, and I want to see what you remember.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Back in the McQuaig days, when we first started talking about these McQuaig days, we did a thing called the Freak Olympics.
Oh
Now,
God, you're bringing that up. Are we PG or are we rated R in
man,
this?
anytime I tell this story, people always are looking at me going, "This didn't happen. No, forget it, man. No, but it's
Yeah.
true, right? You're my witness because you were
Yes.
there.
Yes, I was.
Now, as I remember it, we first met the two promoters for the Freak Olympics
Sidetrack
at
Cafe.
the Sidetrack Cafe
Yeah.
during Grey Cup.
Yes,
And I think it was Toronto, Edmonton
it was.
in the Sidetrack Cafe.
Because
And
I have a side story about that. Remember, Darren and Doug Flutie were they happened to be in the
yeah,
crowd,
the Flutie brothers.
yes, and they came up to play, and their bass player wanted to play, and I told him to fuck off, and I stayed and played with them. I was I'm playing with Flutie brothers, and Doug Flutie definitely a much better quarterback. We'll say that
Than
than
a
drummer.
drummer.
Yes. Anyways, okay, so yeah, so far so good.
So
Story correlates.
Donovan Bailey was in the crowd that night too.
That's right.
And I ended up, as I always do, I'm playing the pipes, I'm walking on the tables. I walk on Donovan Bailey's table, and he looks at me and just gives me this kind of like a sneer, like what are you doing, sort of thing. So I keep going. Anyways, after the show, the two promoters that were there were with the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Yes.
And Danny and Dennis. Danny and
Nice.
Dennis were their names. Anyways, they came out to us and said, "Hey, we love this show. We love what you did there. We want to bring you out to Toronto. We'll fly you out to Toronto, pick you up, and let's do this thing called the Freak Olympics." And you and I are both like, "Yeah, okay, sure, man, whatever." Because you know how it is when you're in a band, you always get people come up to you and say, "Oh, you guys got to do this, and you should play this, and you play
Yeah.
here, and we're gonna
Yeah.
help you get there." And you're like, "Yeah, that's great." And then after you get a little older and you've heard that a few times, you're like, "So when does this actually happen?"
Yeah.
Because nobody ever does anything, right? Yeah, exactly. So sure enough, we kept in communication with them. We get these plane tickets in the mail, and I was like, "I guess we're going. We're going to go to the Freak Olympics." And I had never really flown out to Toronto before. Um, so we all four of us jump on a plane, and then we get picked up. And I can't remember their names that picked us up, the guy and the girl in the van.
Right.
And
You remember though in the airport, we were told that they'd be holding a card, like
that's right, a
and they
sign.
misspelled your name, remember?
Hence one of the reasons why we are now Arcana Kings and not McQuaig. But anyway, that's another story. But yeah, so walking through the airport there, they're holding up this card, misspelled McQuaig. And we're looking at, I think that's us. We go talk to them. They're like, yeah, yeah, come on, let's go. So we get in this minivan. We start ripping. It's about 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 3 or 4 in the morning, somewhere like that. And we're ripping down the highway, and man, it got crazy from there because all of a sudden, as they're driving down the highway, they rip out this mirror and start doing lines as we're going towards the Freak Olympics. And you and I know I'm looking at it going, and I had never been around this stuff at that time. I was just like, what is going on here? I'm nervous. I think, and I'm in the very back, and I'm thinking, I'm going to die. This is how I die. This, I'm just getting going in my music career, and I'm going to die on the 401, ripping down the highway while these two maniacs are doing lines, and they're laughing and they're giggling, asking us questions, talking a mile a minute. And all of a sudden, we get lost because they don't know
Yeah.
where we are.
Yeah. Well, I remember they were passing herbal accoutrements around, and we were,
Doobies. They're passing doobies
yeah,
around.
okay, all right. And we were partaking pretty hard. And while we got lost, I remember we kind of said jokingly to each other, "Hey, what if they're just going to take us out into the bush and kill us, man?" And then we're all ha ha ha. And about 10 minutes later, we're all just paranoid and scared crapless, taking this aside there because. First of all, when you're in the Toronto area, you don't expect there to be that much wilderness. Like it was odd, you know what I mean? Like we were just
Yeah.
incredibly removed from all society. Right. And then I remember just right in the midst of our paranoia, we pulled up to the entrance. And do you want to explain who the
No,
insecurity
no,
guard?
keep going, man, because this is
All right.
beautiful.
And sure enough, there's someone there manning the gates. He's sitting on a quad and he's wearing spandex with the butt cheeks cut out of them.
Assless spandex.
Assless spandex. And he was not a security guard, he was an insecurity guard. So that was our first introduction into this madness.
Yeah.
I'll let you take it from here.
Oh, so he's wearing a vest, like one of those safety vests,
Yeah,
and he's wearing like a hard hat, but he's bald with a big long ponytail, like just bald, and he's got assless spandex chaps on, riding this quad. He's like, hey, and he's got a beard like a biker. He's like, hey, okay, follow me. So they take us in through the gate. They bring us down, and then we're exhausted because we've been up all night. We were lost for a couple hours. We're just basically done, right? So they say, okay, here is the places where you guys are going to stay. Now, when they told us this at the beginning, it was like, oh yeah, you've got these nice cabins over this beautiful little lake. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
We come up over this hill. We see these broken down shacks with like no windows in them or nothing, overlooking a slough, like a pond, a gross
A
slough,
mosquito ranch.
mosquito branch. And then you go into them, and there's like an outline on tape of a person, like a dead body, sort of, when they tape it in those movies, of that. And you're looking at this going, are you freaking kidding me? This is where I'm going to sleep. And sure enough, we each had one of these sort of
Yeah. But
cabin.
I remember them going, well, usually the band finds somewhere else to sleep anyways. I remember them saying that. Oh, okay then. All right. All right. I see what's going on here.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So I'm like, okay, yeah, okay. So this is where we're sleeping. This is where we're sleeping. So we each, go to sleep, get about 4 hours, 5 hours sleep in. So it's kind of about, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 at night. No, we were
No, it was earlier than that. It was early afternoon because
when we got there, it was early afternoon.
yeah, but I mean even when I'm walking around, because remember that they brought us like well, it might be jumping ahead, but remember we would literally go, geez, I'm hungry right now, and all of a sudden someone would show up with food. It was weird, but
That's
I
right.
remember being because we saw a lot of events,
Well, we
right?
all woke up and we said, let's go
Yeah,
for a walk and have it. Let's check this out. And
yeah.
so where we were staying was at one spot. We kind of had to go over a hill and then down into this other area. Now, this other area, when you first walked down, was this huge field, but there was camps of each team. And there
Hmm.
must have been, I don't know, probably 10 to 15 teams.
Oh, there's more than that. It formed a big semicircle, man.
That's
I
right.
would say, I would say, I would like seriously say probably 30,
Yeah,
right?
could have been. Yeah, could have been. I
And
a
but
little
remember
foggy.
they're all playing their own music and they all had their own
Yeah,
music.
it
You
was
sit in the
chaos.
middle. It was just chaos. It was cacophony. It was like, oh my God. Okay, it was
They,
good. Did we all go to the same first event? The the
yes.
the obstacle course?
you,
All right, okay,
I
yeah,
thought
this
we went to the referee tent first to go say hi
we
to Danny and
you're right,
everybody.
we did. We checked in first and then
Yeah.
wandered off. And okay, this is it's um doctors and lawyers and professionals, dentists and all that get together and just go nutty at this freak Olympics. Um
Leave your
each
keys at the front. No one's
yeah,
allowed to drive.
exactly. And
There
each
are there was an ambulance and stuff on
yeah.
site.
But I mean, these aren't your average hippies. These are your, the people in the glass towers that you see in Toronto, and each of them had their own team acid. Remember,
Yeah.
but we'll get into the consequences of that later. But anyways, we decided after checking in at the referee tent, we went to the obstacle course, the first event that we stumbled onto, and what it was teams. Well, I think it was four. Right, there was two at each end, naked and they stuck a carrot up their ass and ran
No, no,
back.
no. Wait. That was at the very end. That was the
Oh,
last thing
okay, all
of
right.
the whole thing.
Oh, so we saw the tomato, the pole and the tomato and all that stuff first.
Yes, yeah.
All right, okay. Well, I'll explain the details now. What was the first event? And
Okay, so
I thought that one was
we went and saw the greased up pole, okay? And we were wearing blue shirts that said McQuaig on them, right?
yeah,
But some of the teams, like each team had different colors, right? There was a
yeah,
yellow shirt, there was a blue shirt, a red shirt, a green shirt, black shirt, a white shirt. Like each of them have their different themes and different colors and different team names or whatever. And so we're walking through the crowd, and I was wearing a blue shirt. I think me and Brent were wearing a blue shirts at the time. And anyways, so the greased up pole event was one team has to form a tower around this pole and climb up this pole. And then
yeah,
the next team is kind of their safety net around the pole. Like if anybody fell, they would catch them,
yeah.
right? But then there's a team outside of all of that whipping tomatoes and eggs and everything they could, like things that break on you while this team was climbing up the pole.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And no one got even close.
no, no, because it was a greased up pole. People are whipping stuff at you. And you can imagine what that's like. And you're trying to get on your teammate's back to get up higher. And then someone's trying to get on their back. So the guys below were like the bigger guys. And it was trying to be a pyramid sort of thing, right? Going up. And so, anyways, it just kept, and it was chaos. So Brent and I believe we got thrown into like, hey, you got to get in here right now. And they're like, well, we're not on,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Get in here, put your hands up. So we were in there like to catch if
Yeah.
somebody fell. So it was pretty responsible actually for people that were wasted. Of all these people going like safety first, and they all had their minds going, yeah, we're still going to do this safety thing. It doesn't matter what we're doing to ourselves. But so that was the first of it. And then we saw the human foosball.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we saw the toboggan type race. Now it was like bales of hay, like a course that went down, and there were one person on the luge. It was like a luge sort of thing on this, but
With
on wheels.
those old crappy wooden toboggans.
Yeah, yeah, with wheels on them and stuff. Yeah. And so that was it. And then we had the women's relay. Do you remember the women's relay?
I don't remember the women's relay.
Okay. So it was a team of 4 or 5 women only, and they had a choice. They had to do either a bong hoot, a bong hit, a hit of acid, and a shot of tequila, a couple shots of tequila or something like that. But the object was that everything had to be done on to win the relay. Your team had to accomplish all of that. So if you didn't want to do your hit acid, or if you didn't want to do your bong hit or something, you had to pass it off to another teammate. And you'd say, okay, well, I'll do your 4 shots of tequila if you do, one of my hits of acid, or, 2 hits of acid, and I'll do your 2 shots. They were trading, but everything had to be done. So you had people just messed right up on acid, or just wasted, drunk as a skunk or high as a kite. Just it was very surreal to be around.
Needless to say, these events were crazy, and they were topped off by that obstacle course run where you literally stuck a carrot up your ass, ran backwards, and jumped over hay bales to the other side, passed the carrot without hands, and then they had to run backwards with a carrot up their ass. Okay, see, that's
well, I thought they each had their own carrot.
I think you're right. You are right. They stuck it up beforehand, but I remember there was people eating their carrots afterwards too.
Well, it's up your own ass. I mean,
so then we go to play eventually, and of course they warned us not to drink any Kool-Aid because it was all spiked with acid. And who was it? Gatto was there the year before us?
Yes. No, they're there the night before us.
Yeah, and they got so messed up that they couldn't play, so they didn't want us to do that. So we didn't. Yeah. We played a good show. Do you remember looking at my side of the stage and those two were skronking?
Yeah, when we were setting up. And we were basically walking over top of them, setting up, because they were laughing. They were just hysterically laughing. And this guy had this girl just bent over the stage and just giving her. And it was, I mean, as young guys, you're watching this, is like, was this kind of like Woodstock? I mean, I don't know, but I wasn't there, but this is what I would have pictured it. It was like, this is crazy, man. This is absolutely nuts. But yeah, and we played over good though. It was fun.
It was weird playing to a crowd that you knew was just juiced on just about every chemical on the planet. But it created kind of a weird symbiotic, they were with us. They were with us, and you could feel it physically.
What a vibe. What a vibe.
It was pretty cool. I do remember too. This was pre 9/11, obviously. So the plane laws were a lot more lax. And I actually brought a big mug of the acid Kool-Aid right onto the plane, was drinking it on the way home. So the time I landed in Edmonton, I was just gone. There's no way you can get away with that nowadays. No way.
No, not a chance.